CEIN, Camber Energy Inc. We're going to go over the 2024, the 10K, and we're going to go over the 10Q. So we'll go over the annual report and the quarterly report. And so the Kristoff is another stock I've been in since 2021. You see my bag. I have 100,000 shares of CEIN. I'm down 93%. I'm down 48,000%, but I have over $50,000 within the company. And I don't have any filings right here for this slide, but I did break down the slide a little bit. I did break down what the 10K said a little bit, right? So down here I said, finally got a chance to overview the CEIN 2024 10K report. Still long-term bullish and think things are moving in a positive direction. But I will remain objective and critical to stay honest with everyone. Underwhelming performance overall for the year. I had higher hopes, and we didn't even hit $30 million in revenue. I thought at the start of the year, I'll tell you, I thought we were hitting 30,000 easy. I think we ended up actually at 28. And so that was a little underwhelming, but it's not the end of the world. And so this is what I brought up. I said CEIN share account doubled. The C shares were still kicking our ass. No mention of carbon capture or the grid detection technology for the 2025 prospects. Last year's report said in Q1 we would have an update in this Q2, and we'll get into the reason why we have not had an update, especially on carbon capture. Revenues dropped by 4 million because it was I thought it was 32 in 2024. It was 28 in 2024. In 2023 and 28 in 2024. And now Simson-Maxwell, what we talked to, it's not going to account for revenue. Like, we'll still get money from Simson-Maxwell, but we'll get into what transpired where it's not going to show as revenue on the books. And ozone builds are expensive, and they had to take loans out to cover the transactional period of the sale, right? It costs a lot, the ozone, to make. They take the loan out so they can cover the cost of it before they actually get the sale of the end user. Okay. And so let me revert back a little bit, right? But we'll get into T&T, the Power Group with Simax. More tits, somebody I follow on Twitter. He's pretty smart. They need some kind of deal with a big player like Veolia, who we've been talking about. Otherwise, they'll burn through the cash to build Viking Ozone before deploying any units. And I say, this I 100% agree with. CEIN cannot and should not continue to build and invest in the ozone product without much bigger pockets. Veolia is a great fit, and I would be happy to sell the ozone to them and focus capital on getting carbon capture and grid up to speed. And now let's talk a little bit about the transaction that took place with Camber Energy, Simmax, and T&T Group. And so, and I'll talk about it on the next slide, but so Camber Energy with Simson-Maxwell and another power generation group in Canada, they merged together into one entity. So T&T Power Group owns 51% of Simson-Maxwell now, and Camber Energy through Viking owns 49%. And so as you see here, there's going to be a lot more locations in Canada, and they're providing funding, they're providing infrastructure, more sales team, and overall, I think this is a good move because we'll still get 49% of the proceeds coming in, but this allows James to focus on other things now. Like, he doesn't have to oversee what Simson-Maxwell is as the controlling partner, right? As the controlling owner. And so we'll get more into that into the next slide. But I want to bring up why we have not heard anything about carbon capture, and we are supposed to. So and I need to preface, Camber Energy only owns the right to ESG Clean Energy's technology to use it in 25 American locations and anywhere in Canada. They have the right to use it under those requirements. We don't own ESG Clean Energy, and we don't own the actual technology up until this point. We just have the right to use it exclusively in Canada in 25 locations in America. That is an important distinction and what people need to understand. So, but ESG Clean Energy, and we paid millions of dollars for this right too, right? I just put this in. But ESG Clean Energy LLC files Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Oh no. Bankruptcy filing alert. This is from Arcade Consultants. ESG Clean Energy LLC, Chapter 11, District of Massachusetts, filed on, this was April 30th, 2025. Assets 10 to 50 million, liabilities 1 to 10 million, total creditors 1 to 49. This is in clean energy. So ESG Clean Energy, a clean energy company based in West Springfield, Massachusetts, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the District of Massachusetts. The company reported assets between 10 to 50 million and liabilities between 1 to 10 million, with fewer than 50 creditors. The filing indicates that the company's subsidiary, ESGH2 LLC, also filed for bankruptcy protection in the same district. The voluntary position was signed by Nicholas Scudery, who served as the company's manager. James P. Ahard, Esquire, is representing the debtor of these proceedings. So on the surface, this is not good. But I'm not going to say this is a horrific situation, because just because ESG is in bankruptcy, that doesn't mean we lose the rights to use the technology, and they could come out of this, or there is a way to come out of this. How? I'm not too sure. You know, I don't know who's handling it. James hasn't said anything about it. Obviously, you probably can't say too much about it. But this is how I see it, right? It costs a lot of money. They built a facility in Holyoke. They had a second facility they were building in Holyoke. They wanted to build something in Germany and a couple other locations. This takes money, right? It's great technology, but it takes money and it needs bigger pockets. So if the assets is between 10 million to 50 million, maybe I don't know where Camber Energy gets the money from, but maybe we can buy out the technology outright, you know. And how is that possible, right? Because Simson-Maxwell, they already agreed, James already agreed that they're going to run the carbon capture technology through Simson-Maxwell, just like they're doing the ozone. So how about this? I don't know the full stats on T&T, but what if we partnered with T&T to have the funds to potentially buy out the rights to ESG Clean Energy? And not only that, that allows more locations, right? So before, if we had the CC just on our SimMax locations, we would only use it for our Simson-Maxwell locations. But now, since that T&T and SimMax are together as one, working together, you see all these locations. Now we have more locations we can do the carbon capture with. And so the question is, how does that work? How do we get it? So we'll see what the bankruptcy and proceedings are. I'm not paying for the files, the legal files. So I guess we'll see when it comes down the pike. So that's interesting stuff. I also want to bring up that these three podcasts are important. This is a wealth fund company in Canada, but they do great interviews with CEOs. And I need you to watch all of them because they all go regards to what Camber Energy is supposed to try to do. We have CEO at ExxonMobil, Darren Woods. He talks to them. Obviously, it's a gas company. We have Patricia Pop, CEO PG&E, when you talk about the grid tech. And we have the CEO of Shell, another oil and gas. And they talk about the shift in clean energy, green energy. How are they going to be a part of the shift? what's their future like, and how are they going to retain their position as large companies in this world. So very informative, and I highly encourage you guys to watch those. And so to preface what I'm going to talk about in the next one, and in the next slide for Camber Energy, keep this in mind. Because remember, we sent an ozone to France. We sent a 300 series big boy ozone to France. And we've been talking about how Veolia is a potentiality buyer of this technology. And so the ozone is in Bayet, France, right? Les Bouillettes, Bayet, France. And Paris is where the headquarters of Veolia is. So it's 4 miles away. It's not a short drive, but it's a short flight. It's a short flight to get to Bayet from headquarters. And also from Bayet to Lyon, and Lyon has a location, a Veolia location in France as well. It's 2.5 hours essentially. So where they're having we're talking about the showcase, where they have the ozone at right now, it's in a nice position where the big wigs of Veolia can go look at it, right? So let's go into the next slide. CEIN 2025 Q1 earnings, like we just brought up recently, we got news that the Viking 300 series is going to have its first internationally hosted innovation showcase June 2nd to June 6th. So it's showtime for the company in Ozone and Viking. It's in Bayet, France. Hopefully, Veolia is going to be there, because they were at the showcase in Canada before, right? Or they're at a showcase before. And CEO James said all the testing procedures are complete for NFX 30503 compliance in Europe. We will share news once results are available. Look forward to next week. So that's great. That's great. We know the technology works. We know its potentiality of how it can help waste management and such. It's just the cost, especially the cost of scale. So we're definitely going to need bigger pockets. We cannot do this alone, in my opinion, right? So let's get into some notes about the Q1 earnings report. At March 31st, 2025, the number of remaining true-ups, which is important due to prior conversions, was 14 million, so almost 15 million shares. So that's as many true-ups we have left from the previous conversions. On April 8th, 2025, the company issued 8 million shares of common stock to Antilles in exchange for the conversion of 9 shares of convertible Cs, leaving 21 C series shares left, which is important because that number was at 30 for essentially a year. So they're finally converting the last bits of C shares they have, actually, not just using the true ups, because we had 101 true ups this time last year. We have 15 million now. And talking more on the Simpson-Maxwell transaction, on April 1st, 2025, Viking entered into a share subscription agreement with T&T Power Group for more equity in Simax and Sixmax Limited, a Canadian federal corporation. This SSA relates to restructuring the ownership of Simpson, and that results in Camber ceasing to have controlling interest in Simpson. It's going to be 49% now. But this is an important point. T&T also agreed to provide up to 3 million Canadian dollars in additional working capital to Simpson on closing, or at such time as is reasonably required to meet the cash requirements of Simpson, and to repay on or within a reasonable period following the closing amounts under Simpson's then outstanding senior secured facilities. T&T acquired the subscription shares by paying the subscription price in cash. T&T acquired the Remora shares by paying approximately 3.5 with a purchase price in cash, issuing a promissory note for the remaining balance. So essentially, to make this share subscription go through, T&T paid up. They paid up a little bit and they gave some extra cash so operations can go forward. That's kind of nice to see that we actually have some money coming in to keep operations flowing and hopefully scale that up with what's transpiring with ozone. Yeah, so same here, 51% to T&T, 49% to Viking. But it's also good to note, as a result to reduction in Viking's ownership and interest and ceasing to have control over Simpson, Camber will no longer consolidate Simpson's financial results in its consolidated financial statements beginning April 1st, 2025. So in Q2, they won't show up in the revenue. The company instead will account for its investment in Simpson under equity method of accounting. And so as we're probably going to see it on the investment side, right? And so when looking at some gematria, it's kind of nice. CEI, you take off the N because CEIN was CEI before they got delisted, and they might get relisted in the future. We'll see. CEI share subscription agreement 4125 equals 333 English ordinal and 153 reverse reduction. You want to see that? That's very powerful. You know, if you want to understand why that connection, those two connections are powerful, make sure you watch my previous videos explaining it. But all positive things. So, you know, that's what I have on Camber Energy. That's what I have on CEIN. We're waiting on a lot of different things for this company. It's another complex company that's had to deal with a lot. I like James as CEO. I think he's done a great job. You know, I have my qualms sometimes, communication. I have my qualms of him overextending the company sometimes. But overall, you know, I really like what he's doing, and hopefully he does the right thing with ozone. He had to personally back the loan that they had to take out for ozone with his own money, right? So I don't want our company to be in that position where the CEO has to personally blip back a loan with his own money. On the grand scheme of things, is it the worst thing in the world? No. He's confident that's going to go through and he's going to personally back with his own money. But we need to be making enough money to personally back it through the company. Let's personally back loans through the company with our own results, right? And so hopefully that's where we're heading to. But we're only going to get there if carbon capture, grid tech gets us there. One of the two or both. So we need to see what has happened with the bankruptcy, and we need to get an update on that soon. And we need to sell the ozone, or we get a partner to help us fund the buildings of these, because I don't think we can do it alone. But overall, I'm still long-term bullish. So CEIN shareholders, if you like this video, please give me a like, give me a subscribe to all my channels, like all my videos. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments going forward.